Hey everybody, my name is Suede, and today we are going to be doing a VOD review. So what that means is I'll be watching a game of multiplayer Civ 3 that I completed earlier today, and I'm going to be watching it at 1.7 times speed, and I'm going to comment over top. So what that means is you'll get a slightly sped up pace of game, because multiplayer games can be a little slow from a viewing perspective, and also I won't have to shift my focus between playing and actually commenting over the game. So this is a 7-player CTON modern. So if you've played Civ 4, Civ 5, you might have heard this term CTON before. What that means is cannot talk or negotiate. So it means not only can you not trade or make diplomacy in game, but you can't even talk about the game that's being played. And you definitely can't make like unofficial alliances or things like that. They're just goofing off in chat right now. So I've got some interesting land here. I think you could say it's bad. Like my capital's pretty weak here. It's got the cow and the wheat is definitely strong, but everything else is quite weak. But it's compensated by a strong second city here. So the second city is wheat, fish, cow right off the bat, and gems and banana when I get the border expand. So I got a choice to make right now about what kind of government to go. And if I had seen anyone, I'm pretty confident that there's no one here with me because I'm on the southern side of the map, as you can see on the mini map. And there's no one north of me. So I'm gambling that I'm alone, so I can go for a slightly more scaling, greedy government. So I'm going to go for equality here. So equality is good when you don't have to do a ton of worker moves, aka when you have plain starts and you can just irrigate as opposed to mining. Because equality mines in 3 turns, and it irrigates in 1, so it makes a big difference. So equality will be pretty good here, although mining the hills and the mountains, if I'd end up doing that, will take a long time. So I'm neglecting to pop the huts. I want to try to get a free settler off of them. And I'm checking F11, I believe, to see if anyone's planted. So in CTON, I should explain that it's played with 4 city elimination and regicide. And you get 25 points for killing a king or for taking a city that you did not plant. So if you retake your own city, you don't get points for that. So it's really fun. It makes for scrappy games where you're really incentivized to fight a lot early, but you're still rewarded for building too. It's not just like whoever spawns next to the weakest player and beats up on them has the advantage. At this point, I consider going southwest. That would give me the banana and the additional bonus grassland instantly, but I do want the canal, and the tempo here is going to be very important. I don't know how important just yet, but you always want to play safe in these. You don't want to be caught with your pants down, and there you see it. Right there, you see the border of Nigeria. That's Carlot over there. So I have 2 coastal cities. I can be boated from both sides potentially here, and a player has spawned southeast of me. He will be able to see my border if he scouts on that forest tile east of Ottawa. So I'm in danger from there, and then you see Robert on F11 is already size 3. So what that means is he did a settler joining play. In a not too distant patch of modern, we made it so building a galleon, or a troop transport they're called in modern because they're a little faster and they carry more units. Building a galleon in modern requires a tech, so you don't see super early rushes, and so the settler joining play isn't as viable as it used to be, but I don't know, some people still go for it, so that's a pain in the butt. It also means I can't pop a city, right, or a settler, right? Because you need to have an average or average or below average number of cities to plant, and that will not be possible because he has joined a settler and he won't be planting at all until he gets someone else builds a settler and plants it. I won't be able to pop, so I'm going to save my huts until then. You notice I switched my tech actually to Cold War, which will give me skirmishers. So skirmishers require rubber. As soon as I see that rubber, I know what to path for. There's 3 techs you want at the start of the game. That's cargo for the galleons. You want wartime for wartime mode and draft for the ability to draft. These are very basic abilities that you want. So it gives you some time to think about what you'll want to tech. But as soon as you know where your enemies are, know what your resources are, you'll want to choose a tech in modern that will get you the stuff that you need. So I go for the standard airport opening, of course, and I'm going to slave my granary in Toronto. One of the reasons I like equality here is I have the cow. The cow means that as soon as you hit size 2, you get the airport instantly, and as soon as you hit size 2, you can also slave the granary instantly. And slaving the granary instantly means you go into wartime sooner. So there's a lot of benefits to having the cow second city. That's definitely something to look for when you're deciding what government to go if you play equality. It is a bit of a meme government. It's Someone, I believe Halu, like a top player, described it as not really being like very cool, but not really being Civ anymore because it just changes so much about how the game works. You get these 2 shield airports in all your cities, and you can airdrop your settlers from airports in modern. So you can just dot your cities all over the map without having a really contiguous empire. Okay, so I consider the worker here. I can't remember whether this paid off. Yeah, the idea was I'm going wartime next turn when the granary finishes. So if I can just get the quick worker, the tempo, like, it times out really well because you don't get the wartime bonus towards the worker. And if you did, you wouldn't really need it because it finishes in 1. So I figured that it might be worth going for the worker, but I don't really need a worker here. And I thought I was going to go for, I already have Harbor. I thought I was going to go for Harbor Offshore, which reduces the number of worker moves you need. So I decided against it, like in case I need the extra shields. And at this point, I'm thinking of like a boat play onto Nigeria. But one thing I see is you see the outline in dark blue over there. So I realize to the west of me is the Europeans, and to the southeast of me is the Nigerians. And I can be boated from both sides. So this is a very precarious situation. I definitely have to go, like if I can safely do it, I should go for an aggressive play. But I can't just like send my first 2 partisans or my first 1 partisan towards Nigeria like I was planning, because then I could be boated from Europe. So I have to be very careful. One thing that helps here is F11. It will tell you the population of all the enemies. And based on that, you can see if they're drafting size or not. You need to be size 7 to draft. So instead of going for the galleon here, because if I put the units on the galleon, that could put me in a vulnerable spot, I decided to go for the frigate. That will prevent Nigeria from boating me, and I can go for Europe, because I don't think that Europe has spotted me, right? I know that Nigeria can likely see my borders, but I don't think that that Europe can see my borders. So the idea is I'll do frigate here, and then I will go to protect against Nigeria, and then I will boat Europe on the west. And checking F11, he is still not a high size, so it's something I can definitely do. So I draft. I do the road 2. That will actually let me get the road a turn early. It's not really relevant here. I'm not a super fan of this, but in this case, I do have to slave the galleon out of Toronto. That's okay. It's not ideal, but it is the best play here. Yeah, it would have been done pretty soon, but I want it to make the play. And we'll see when F11 comes up how close I am. Ideally, you'd want to grow Toronto so I can get to do settler every 2 turn. In wartime, that's pretty easy in equality, because equality is very slow workers, but the advantage, the 2 shield airports you get as equality, they give you plus 25% production and plus 1 happiness. So they're very weak in one sense, but very strong in another. Now, you'll see if I had just done the galleon, I could have unloaded on Kano end of turn and taken the empty city, but I could not have known that. In this case, I have the harbor, so my galleon has plus 1 health. This was the deciding factor. I also moved first, so he attacked into me. Him attacking into me means I get the defense bonus, which was very useful here. It might have made the difference between that 1 hit point, which caused me to win the combat, which getting a unit that early is just such a big boost. So I'm still planning to go for Rabert, the Europeans. I should say these, aside from Rabdeg and I guess Rico really surprised me this game. These are the 2 strongest players in the lobby. Rabert's probably, in theory, 3rd strongest after me and Rabdeg. And Carlot's pretty good too. So these aren't slouches. I have to either take them out early or find something to do about it. I do for the 2nd frigate, just in case I need to be guarding both sides from being boated. I don't want to have like a bunch of units on my land. That will be a death sentence here. And in fact, the situation here generally is pretty precarious. Okay, we had a reload here. We actually had 2 subs for Fake Hell. He just went completely AWOL in the middle of the game. It's a CTON, so it's not a team game, so it's not that hard to fix. And we reloaded pretty quickly. Yeah, so I went for the 2nd frigate here. In theory, if I needed to, I wanted to be able to protect both sides. Like if I need to protect from boats to the west and the east, I wanted to be able to do that. So that's why I'm going for 2 frigates here. I'm also delaying. I'm doing the worker in Toronto to delay the settler. And that's because if I delay the settler, then I might have a below average number of cities, and I might be able to pop a city. So here comes the landing onto Rabert. And he just did the most ridiculous, absolutely crazy, disrespectful build here. Do some more micro, have to end of turn, fix my happiness. And then I go in, and then, of course, yeah. So what he's going to do, he joins his worker. His king is in the city. I actually lose my first partisan there, I believe. That was a stack attack. And I lose the partisan. So we have to reload. There's a kill bug, but I did get the kill there. So that's 25 points, and that's him just completely out of the game, so I do not have to worry about him, which is a godsend. At this point, I can focus all my efforts on... on Europe. And we discussed this in the lobby. Okay, so normally, I disband here just for honesty. Normally, if someone dies due to a kill bug, it will give you an out of war. So you get an out of war every time you make peace, or whenever someone you're at war with dies. But I wasn't even at war with him when the turn started, right? I just declared war and attacked. So I didn't get the out of war here, so Carlot was very gracious. So I played it honest in the sense that I disbanded the Tau, and then Carlot was very awesome because he gave me the out of war. Because being stuck in wartime this early, if you don't need to be, which if I do need to be if there's two enemies nearby, but if there's only one who I have naval priority over, I don't strictly need to be in wartime. So it was nice to be able to get the out of war from Carlot. He was surprised too, yeah. I can't remember what I used this timing for. I might have used it. We'll see what I used it for. I might have actually used it. Yeah, I did factory here. I actually stayed out of war for a pretty long time here. And I might have done Temple in Toronto. So I got the pop from Vancouver. So the play I made earlier there actually paid off. So saving the hut, I was able to pop because I waited till everybody had 2 down. I think in this case, because I killed Robert, he actually had 3 down. He joined a settler to cap, and then he just built 2 settlers, which just makes no sense. Like, joining settler to cap, it does give you the 1 per turn growth a little early, so you get one of your pops back, but you just lose 15 shields. It's just such an enormous setback. Yeah. Anyway, in this case, it was definitely a crazy build. And I could see F11. That's one of the reasons I targeted him, because F11, I can see his cap is size 5. Well, I might as well land him, right? 4 workers, 2 settlers. Absolutely insane. So this one's kind of funny. I believe the bombard lands just before his Tau gets there, and it cuts off his movement. And I'm about to land him, right? I just sent 1 partisan over to see if I can get the city. If I'd done 2, that might have been able to hold it, but I wasn't really expecting to hold it. I just wanted to get the plus 25 off him. So remember, you get plus 25 points every time you take a city that you did not plant, or every time you kill a king. So I'm at plus 25 now because I took the city off, or the king off of Europe, but I want to get a little bit more. So I'm going to go for Nigeria too. And of course, he's, I believe he's freedom this game, so he scales very well. I scale well too. But he's got like aluminum. I don't know all the res that he has. I don't want to have to mess with that, so I'm going to go for an early kill on him. Initially, I wanted to slave the factory, but I was like getting shit where it's like the factory finishes in 3 turns, and it would cost 3 citizens to slave. So I ended up just slowly finishing the factory, which was fine. Like, because I have naval priority here, there's not really a way he can get on top of me. Because I killed Robert, I'm not really scared of being voted for the West. I guess that is a possibility in theory. Vancouver would have to be a really weird angle for someone to come up and around. I'm gambling that nobody will do that. That is a risk that I'm taking. So it is okay to take risks in your game, especially CTON. Like, if you play perfectly safe in CTON, I mean, you'll probably do pretty well. You will probably gain elo off of that, but you will not win the game. And if you want to maximize your chance of gaining the most elo, you should play when you're taking some risks. But as you're taking risks, I always tell that to people on my team. It's okay to take risks. Just be aware of the risks that you are taking. So if you're leaving your king in a vulnerable spot, but you can't really afford to protect it because you can't afford to draft again, it's okay. That happens to me. It happens to everybody. Just be aware that you're doing that. And if you are, that's okay. Okay, great. So I'm still out of war, right? Because I'm very slowly doing that factory. I did the library in Toronto. Toronto benefits a lot from the border expand here. It gets the banana, the extra BG, and it gets the pearls, and it does need the happiness. We did slave the Notice how I'm at 50% on the happiness slider. You might start to wonder, how on earth is equality a viable government when you got stuff like that going on? But wait till you see late game, because when it comes online hard. So yeah, I think I actually opted for the, and maybe not right here, but eventually I opted for the aqueduct. Yeah. But I do need the, I do need the settler here because the factory will finish in 2. So that means pretty soon we will get the we'll get skirmishers. So skirmishers cost 40 shields, and the factory will give us about 40 shields per turn in wartime. Actually, a bit higher than that even. It's funny. I figured I wanted to do to crush Carlot, I'm gonna need these 1 per turn power spike on veteran skirmishers. Yeah, I was getting this bug here, so Rabdeg. I was like, yes, it is definitely crashing right now. Let's check the reload. Yeah, and we got a second sub, I believe. Yeah, Calvi was nice enough to sub for Hanted. Yeah, so I go for the rubber. I figured, yeah, the 140 shield per turn, power spike on veteran skirmishers, that will do it. Honestly, if I just settled the sulfur unlocks marines. They're not nearly as, because they don't have the extra movement point, and they have less defense than skirmishers. But he's only got 1 guy there, right? He's got 0 guys. If I just had 1 marine, I could just take the city again. Like a boat with 2 marines, 2 partisans, even if they're not veterans, even if the partisans are drafts, that would easily lock him down. Like, I'd get the city and then I could later follow up with something else. I didn't know that at the time. I had no reason to believe that he would play this disrespectfully, but it's interesting that's how things turned out. Same thing at the start of the game, right? If I just had sent 1 partisan, I could have taken the city and slowed him down, maybe sold his granary even. I'm not sure if it auto sells, because he's a different government than me, and each of the granaries are actually government locked. So it's weird. Like, sometimes your government locked buildings will stay, and sometimes they'll be gone when you recap your city. So there's a chance I could really mess him up there. Okay, I'm bringing my frigate back home. I just want to be. I'm going to make an offensive play, so I'm going to want the frigate to be bouncer for myself. It's just nice to have units on hand when you're making that offensive play, either because you're pulling units out of your cap and you want to defend your cap, or if you want to threaten him a little. So, for example, what I could do is I could send that frigate along to the southeast and try to find another city of his. If I find a city and it's empty, he has to move units in there because he knows I have vision of that empty city now. I mean, seeing how he's playing, that might not be the case, but in theory, that's how it works. Like, if the enemy has vision of your empty city, you move units in to defend, and then your units are not somewhere else that they should be. So it makes things easier for me. So skirmishers are 862s. That's their stat line. So I'm just going to roll up with a galleon full of them and just brute force him because he clearly doesn't have that many partisans. Normally partisans, like the defensive bombard's pretty strong, but this is a 5-player game, so it's not going to be game-breaking by any means. And because I did the aqueduct in Toronto, I've been really... Okay, you see Port Harcourt. This is definitely... Yeah, it's definitely looking vulnerable to me. So that's another reason it was good I brought the frigate back, because I can use the frigate to force him to defend Port Harcourt. I hope I don't disorder there. That would be brutal. I think that, yeah, the extra happiness from the lake. Sorry, the extra commerce through the happiness slider, it fixes that problem right up. So yeah, the barracks finishes in 1. Again, the power spike from the factory is really strong. I'm going to be able to draft out of Toronto. I believe I actually go for the offshore here. One of the benefits to being a quality is your offshores give you increased happiness. It's kind of weird. In some senses, equality is the best government on island maps. In some senses, it's the worst. It's really mixed. And I find in CTON especially, it's kind of a win more government. Like, if you spawn with someone else on the same continent, unless you are sure it's can make it a 1v1, like let's say you have oil and you can get some subs out to make sure nobody lands you and get up in the face of the player you spawn next to. In that case, equality is good. But if you're in a situation like this, equality, where you can be boated from both sides, equality can be difficult. You're much better off going for something safer like order or tradition. those are generally considered to be the drafting governments. They get bonuses to draft. It's a lot easier to draft. You see, like I didn't even draft that much this game. Like I lost 1 unit in Kano. I lost 1 unit to Europe. And yeah, I'm at the 50% of the luxury slider. So ships have a high rate of fire in modern. So I was able to, yeah, just chunked him for 3 HP at the start here. So the reason for the high rate of fire and lower bombard power is that it makes it so the defensive bombard isn't as crazy strong. This is Europe's old city before I killed their king. But one of the effects is that it, like, bombarding other ships becomes really RNG. You can do a lot of damage, and it's a lot easier to do no damage at all. In this case, it paid off, though. Am I about to disorder here? I could swear. I don't have that. It's a new computer, right? That's how I'm getting the slightly higher quality. But that's also how I don't have the Happy Faces mod, which is a pain in the butt. Of course, rating the happiness slider isn't so bad here, because... Why is it not so bad? Of course, I need the happiness to draft out of Toronto, too. So he's very clearly weak right now. If I waited a little longer, it would have been a real pain in the butt dealing with him. You're going to see what he has. That's not going to be fun. This is why tempo is so important. And that's one of the reasons I considered slaving the factory. Even though it would have cost me a lot of pop. Like, if you see the production I have in Ottawa, it's a lot more than the 40 per turn I need for the skirm. Now that I'm in wartime, it's probably going to be about 50 with those mine tills. So even if I'd slaved away a lot of my population, it would have been okay. So my plan is just... He's blocking my landing points. My plan is to just land next to Kano and then just stack attack through and get the city. He gets to the next size. His unit heals... And there's just so much lag here that he's able to reinforce and draft before I can get my even get my units on the tile. But I just brute force him with so much. I only lose 1 skirm there, I believe, which is pretty good. The 2 veterans there definitely help. And now I can follow up with even more. So, Rabert, Europe, has been nice to work those tiles for me. So I'm going to go for those worked tiles. I'm going to plant a city near the iron. Iron will maybe unlock some late game units. So notice what I did out of Vancouver. I wasn't afraid of slaving. So it's kind of similar to MPT, playing equality. What you want to do, because you get the cheap granaries, you want to get a pop lead. And then you want to use your pop lead as you need to put yourself in a better position. So it might not have been a super intuitive thing. All that Galleon did was it moved my explorer over to the west, and it well, that's where I was getting the oil from. So I bombard, and it's going to serve as a sentry. So I figure at this point, at the start of the game, I was willing to risk that nobody's going to come around from that angle and boat my cities. At this point, I'm thinking it's much more likely. I mean, if you're playing a CTON Modern with me, you should definitely do that. Or with other people, because it's still a reliable way to get kills, is to just sneak Marines boats up to the top of the map where people think that there's no enemy units, and just land and like snipe some cities for some easy points. Anyway, I go for the extra draft here. I got 3 more. Based on what I've seen, that should be enough to take the city. So remember, this is 4 city eliminations, so if you've been counting, he is 2 more cities away from dead. So we'll see if he can hold. So I'm about to land end of turn, and I'm going to send this veteran in to distract. The worker kind of messes me up, but I just barely get the landing in time. Yeah, and I'm just able to brute force the city with the skirms. Skirms are good. They're not super efficient for what they cost, but there's not really a lot of ways to get a lot of power out of production early in the game. So they're really strong in that sense. At this point, I'm going to go for the sulfur. So sulfur, it looks like gold. It spawns grassland, sometimes desert, I believe. Yeah. So yeah, I went for the frigate there just to park it, just for the extra vision. So the way that equality works is you get these 2 shield airports, right? So you can just airlift whenever you want. So I don't have enough units on hands to guard all my cities, but if I see people coming, I can know where to position my units. So I'm just going to move the stack to Lagos, move this onto the banana to cut him off. I'm not actually going for Lanos. This is a feint. I do a stack move here and stack attack Ibadan. He can't reinforce from Lagos because I'm blocking. I do the radar tower just in case, but it doesn't matter. He just does not have enough units to hold me off. He probably went, so the way Freedom normally does is they probably go for stock exchange. So he has a bunch of gold, so he can buy like random stuff that he needs, but he can't match my brute production of 1 veteran skirm per turn as he tries to guard all these cities. So having taken 4 cities off of him, I mean, I took 1 city twice, but that counts as plus 50 from there. Plus the kill on Rabert, that is a 125. So I get 125 bonus points. So even though I'm behind Rabdag in score, that's okay, because I got a bunch of bonus points from kills. So that's one of the things that balances modern CTON. It's that you don't, like, if you spawn alone, it's not like the most convenient thing in the world because you don't get those kill points. You can grow bigger, but you don't get the kill points. Okay, at this point, happiness is definitely an issue. So I'm going for Library in my cap. That gives some happiness in modern. And I'm also going for the incense up north. That will help a lot of my cities because I'm slaving in a bunch of these cities. So luxury is very helpful. Now, it doesn't look like I got these cities connected, but of course, remember all those airports. So at this point, you can see how equality starts to come online. Plus 25% bonus production, no distance corruption. So these cities I've taken that are on the river, good land, lots of tile improvements. Tile improvements that would take me forever because my workers are very slow as equality. These are very good cities for me. I can use them in a way that other governments can't because they don't have the communal corruption that equality does. So I do a double slave there. So if you just try to slave the Colosseum, the 40 shield building at 3 pop, it won't let you because it's more than half your population. But if you do a 20 shield thing first and then switch to the 40 shield thing, so 20 shields, or it's one citizen, so less than half your pop, then you're at 2 pop, and then another 20 shields is again less than half your pop. So it allows you to do it. It's a nice little trick there. So library and cap, again, one of the nice things here is as soon as you deal with the other enemies, so scaling governments would seem weak in a CTON, like a free-for-all, because you can't really defend yourself as easily and your allies can't cover for you. But if you put yourself in a position where you're safe and you don't need to do too much fighting or defense, you're not really, like in a team game, you can't just let your team die, but that's not a concern here. You can just play as greedy as you want. And individually, the enemy players in a CTON don't have much incentive to put you down. Like, I'm sure Rabdag would love to kill me, but another part of him is probably thinking, I don't want to place 3rd or 4th here. So I don't know where anyone is, so I'm sending boats out. This is such a good boat for sentrying. Like, it's sentrying 3 of my cities here. So I'm not moving that one anywhere. But some of my other boats are going out to scout because and the land units too, like the draft skirms, clean up some barbarians and do some scouting so I can find out where the enemy civs are. That's very useful information. I want to know what government they are, what resources they have, if they can threaten me, if they're about to kill someone else, right? So I got a pretty long out of war here. There's a bunch of stuff I need in my cap. I'm doing just a bunch of culture buildings. So even though I was behind Rabdag in score, not in adjusted score with the kills, but in just a brute score on the map, he was ahead of me in score, but now I'm just rocketing ahead with these cities that I've taken. So Rabdag, I'll tell you, he was freedom. So if he took cities, it would cost him a lot of money to do these libraries and these coliseums. I just pretty much get them for free, right? I can just slave the city, and it's not too much of an issue. And the happiness just pays for itself. So do not be scared. Slaving is very powerful in equality if you have the population for it. Don't be scared of slaving just a bunch of stuff. So I see China right here. I believe it's not Fake Hell. It's being played by F. Calvi. So if I can pick some cities off him, one of my biggest concerns is that Rabdag or Rico will just blitz him outright, kill him, get like 75, 100 points, and then put themselves within contention of getting me. I believe Rabdag is plus 50 at this point. So a total kill on another Civ would put him ahead of me. So I have to be concerned. So I'm trying to micro to get 30 shields per turn, I believe. Yeah, this will give me the statue. I believe I switched to the ship move wonder. It's just because I'm setting up the play on China, and so I want the extra moves. I have to slow down my growth to get it 1 per turn, but of course that is worth it in this specific case. So instead of growing, I'm not sure if that was the case, but I felt there was that dilemma at some point during this game. So notice how I don't sail my frigate into his land, because I don't want him to know that I'm here. In fact, even approaching the coast, because if he has a unit on the coast, he'd be able to see my frigate. So I'm taking a risk there, but I want to. There's like a trade-off, right? Because you want better view of the land, but you also don't want to alert them of your presence. So I see exactly where his city is. I'm going to have the +2 ship moves from the Wonder, so 7 ship moves on my troop transports. So I'll be able to have my choice of those 2 cities, and hopefully one of them is empty. Of course, I am down 1 right now, so I can't lose too many. Like, if I take cities, I have to be worried about not being able to retake. So I just go for the cheeky bombard here. I'm not trying to set up a play on Rico, so I don't mind him knowing where I am. And yeah, I want to be able to be at war. This is not so much important in this game, but generally in modern CTONs, you only get out of wars when someone you are at war with dies, because there's no out of war from your team. And because you're fighting so much, being in wartime is very, very desirable. So what that means is if you're at war with everybody, then if anybody dies, you get an out of war. And people do die a lot in this. CTON has a reputation for being super turtly. Not modern CTON. In fact, it's one of the most death-prone mods that I've ever seen. Normally in like a 4v4, you get like 2 or 3 or 4 deaths maybe. But routinely in modern CTONs, we're seeing like 5 out of 8 people die by the end of the game. So I'm getting ready to land here. One thing I can do is I can get a little closer with my frigate if I want to see what's up. So if there was like a city further north, what I'd do is I'd approach that city with my frigate to make him defend that city a bit more, and then land Chongqing or his cap. In this case, I actually passed by quite quickly. So I passed by with my frigate to bombard a southern tile quite quickly. So the idea was he would feel more threat on the southern side, and then I could land the north. Because generally people keep more units in their cap, and his cap was size 7, so he gets the defense bonus. So all other things being equal, I wanted to attack his northern city, given I didn't know anything else about the contents of the city. And of course, seeing the partisan was dead giveaway. That should be the target for me. So I got +25 from taking that city. It might be difficult to hold, but notice that at its quality, you get 2 shield airports, so you can just airlift units in. You're starting to see how this government, which was a total slouch at the beginning of the game, just like struggling to draft 4 times without going completely broke, is now just an absolute powerhouse. With all those slaved buildings. You don't pay maintenance on your buildings either. So it's just insanely strong. I do want the settler there so I can get the aluminum. I'll need the aluminum for, I believe, special forces here. So I saw him run his king north of the sulfur. So as soon as I see that disorder, my thought is I can't hold the city. So I'm just going to go attack his king. And his king wins combat. 8 attack against 3 defense. Of course. It's okay. I lost 2 units to kings in this game, actually. But I'm sure I probably got some better. Yeah, like I won all the boat combats against Carlot, which was a lot more decisive than anything I got with the kings. I was still able to kill the kings. Oh, spoilers here. I am very good at clicking very fast. So I'm pretty confident at this moment. I'm pretty confident that I'll be able to kill the king next turn. Can't do intel. Intel would be good here, but I don't. I'd rather have 2 units than intel. I should have thought to do intel in another city sooner, like in Toronto. I believe I went for the factory in Toronto during the last out of war. If I'm not mistaken, it might be the one after I kill China. So that helped me out a bunch, of course. So I have a secondary production city. So what I do is you do click, click, click with your mouse on the unit and then use the numpad. So it would be 9 on the numpad, which corresponds with northeast. Click, 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 999. As soon as the turn starts, you'll get it. I think I was pretty guaranteed to get it here too anyway. Yeah, I actually think it's pretty much impossible if I play that right for him to win. Unless he gets very lucky. The reason for that is the barb is like positioned such that the barb will attack. Of course, if you don't know, if a barb is northwest or southeast of you, it will always attack your unit if you're adjacent, and it will path towards you if you're far away. So he can't move his king because it's in combat with the barb, and he's got the infantry on top, and infantry are defensive units. They're 4 attack, 2 defense. So the best he could do is like try to attack my skirm with his infantry, and I'm full health. So I probably win that with 1 or 2 left over and can still get the attack off on his king. And he has to outclick me for that. And I'm very good at clicking very fast. So yeah, because of that, I get the attack off on his king. And because I got the attack on his king, kill him, get another 25 points. I lost the city, sadly, so I'm down 2. At this point in the game, I start to forget that I'm down 2 because I forgot about what happened with Carlon. I thought I was only down 1. So I start doing some dumb plays, you'll see. I'm going for growth here. I'm way ahead. I just want to be in a position where even if Rabdag kills Rico or vice versa, I can just stomp the rest of them. I suppose maybe I should be more concerned about being landed. You see all those border expands pop up. You get extra culture when you're out of war. That's just lovely. Just such an incredible amount of score. Rabdag is not small here. I believe I also get like tier 2 border expands eventually. We'll skip forward a bit. Yeah, so I get the aluminum here. Aluminum plus rubber gives you special forces. Special forces are, of course, fantastic. They are, in the newest patch, they are 992s. And they're draftable, too. So skirms are 862 for 40 shields. Special forces are 992s. So barely, and they have more abilities because they both have 2 moves, but they're both foot units too, but special forces are amphibious, and they have double movement through, or no movement penalty through rough terrain aside from mountains and volcanoes. So what that means is, it's like I said before, so the skirm, it's a very strong unit early on because you don't have like a bunch of good stuff to dump your shields into if you have a bunch of shields. But as soon as you get better options, there's much more cost-efficient stuff later on, like the special forces. And they're not even the most cost-effective unit. They have a lot of utility, though, because of the amphibiousness. Amphibiety? What's the adjective of amphibious? I think amphibious, or how do you turn that adjective into a noun? God only knows. Yeah, so pretty much unless I throw here, I've got this on lock. I've pretty much full vision. Like, I guess Rico could approach from the south and land, like, Kano. Or Rab could approach from the north and land Calgary. So I'm guarding my king pretty heavily here, which was a bit of a mistake. So it's a 3-player game. So cruise missiles actually scale in power with the number of players in the game. So because this was a game with a lot of players, with very few players, cruise missiles are not very powerful. So there's not really much danger that he comes with a bunch of like nuke subs and nuke sub cruises and snipes my king out of my cap. You see me going for that Aegis cruiser. I think I change off of it. Yeah, I'd rather just get the 1 per turn. As soon as I see that I have the aluminum and I can do the 1 per turn special force, that's really good. Yeah, I do some fun stuff later on. I got a bunch of res. I got the iron. I get the oil. I eventually get that coal. So that unlocks mechs. Mechs are coal, oil, rubber. They're draftable. Very, very strong draftable units. Very strong to 1 per turn. And at this phase, you should be high enough pop and have the buildings that it should be no issue in your cap to one per turn them. I believe there's something like 12, 15 threes. They're very good units. And they're pretty much the best defensive units, aside from super units. So they're just a logical thing for me to go for. Yeah, you see Modern Warfare in 2, that will give me mechs. So I go for a landing on Rabdeg because I see him there, loading up my galleon. I got the spare units on hand. Maybe I should be a bit more worried about being landed. And I think I get spooked later and I realize, oh, holy shit. Because I can't really be landed. Like, subs can come without me seeing with my boat sentries. Because only the Aegis cruisers of the boats that I have, only them can see subs. But there's the super units that I mentioned, the Super Trooper Plus. So Rico went Order, and Order's second Small Wonder gives him Super Trooper Plus every 5 turns. And they have a 25 range airdrop radius, so he could land any of my empty cities if he has vision. Of course, he doesn't have vision, thankfully, but if you never know, there could be like a carrier with pretty unlikely, a carrier with a recon or something like that, or maybe he has a city just out of vision. Yeah, I do think Rabbidag is the scarier player, so I am going for him a bit. I'm focusing on him rather than Rico, even though I do know where Rico is. It's also easier to set up the play on Rabdag because it's just across the bay there. So I do recon here. Sadly, Haifa's empty. If I had the mechs, the 3-move mechs, I could just take the empty city. That's not the case, though. So I believe, yeah, we'll see that landing. It's a pretty simple landing. Oh, I guess it's end of turn. Yeah, there we go. Did I get this? Yeah, I got it. Oh, this is the wrong landing. Sorry. My first landing fails. Jesus. Well, now I've hyped it up. It's pretty much nothing. Yeah, everything goes back in the boat there. This is the landing. Yeah. And you see he gets mechs the same turn. Numpad, EOT. That was a pretty good landing. But he has mechs the exact same turn I attack. It's size 13. The defense bonus isn't quite as high as in single player. It's only plus 60%, I believe. It's plus 45% for cities, plus 60% for metros. But still, I get into mechs with 9 attack units. It's not really going to happen. So yeah, I see the naked city here. I think maybe I can get the naked city. Let's see how that happens. I think I messed this up, actually. Still, oh yeah, he at this point he's got it guarded. I just do the 1 unit. He gets the mech in. That was actually, I didn't mess it up. Yeah, I accidentally unloaded the special forces. I don't think that messed me up. Yeah, I just so what I did is I waited the special forces because I wanted them to heal. And I just wanted to go in with the Yonan unit. Again, so this is, like I said, I started to mess up here because I shouldn't have gone for that attack at all because he can very easily retake the city, and that leaves me at -1. And then you see that Modern Trooper Plus, that very scary Super Trooper-looking unit in Rico's land. Yeah. You see me start drafting because I realize, holy shit, he can threaten theoretically all these cities. And if I lose 2, I die. If I'd taken that one off Rab, if I lost 1, I would die. It is, of course, still possible to win, even though you're dead, I believe, in theory in Modern. As long as you outscore. But not a lot of fun to do. And I don't want to risk it at all. But at the same time, there's like 13 turns left, and I think I got this one on lock. I want to secure my win. Yeah, you see, that's the Super Trooper. He's got an airport, so he can put that wherever he wants, within 25 tiles. even tiles where you don't have vision, that it's like complete like black fog of war, if you're willing to roll the dice, you can put them there. Yeah, I want to disconnect the mechs off of Rabdag. So I'm going for his coal. Coal is required for mechs. At a certain point, I just get like a billion. Yeah, there's so many Aegis cruisers on him. And a bunch of stealth bombers in Edmonton too. I am going for the... You see me setting up the kill down there for Rico. So I don't want to be like manipulating the elo by like unfairly targeting Rabdag. The reason I targeted him initially was because he was closer and because I thought he was more of a threat to me, because Rico seemed to be going for him, and Rabdag is the more skilled player generally. But I don't really have a horse in this race over who places first. And Rabdag, if he can last 8 turns, probably deserves it at least. So what I do is Rabdag actually goes for attack on Rico, and then Rico counterattacks, retakes one of his cities, and then takes one off Rabdag on his homeland. And at this point, Rabdag's already down 2, so that kills him. Yeah, you see Rabdag gets 2 cities off Rico, but he's down 2 already. Yeah, just doing a little harass like this on the rubber. Yeah, Rico retakes 1, and then I think he makes a helicopter play end of turn. This is the same turn I'm landing too, so it's really cool actually. Am I landing here, or am I just setting up the kill? I think I'm landing. Yeah, he actually gets the kill right there. Yeah, I try to go for the northern city. I get the stack attack off on the southern city instead. I call it a win. Try to cut his roads with some bombing runs, and then end of turn. Just walk through his land. Numpad it. Attack Lahore. Got him. That was not needed to place first, but it's nice for a little bit of swag. It does actually guarantee Rabdag's second place, I believe. I think there's a chance that Rico would catch up and score. I mean, either way, I'm manipulating things, right? If I go for the kill, I'm manipulating things for Rabdag. If I don't go for the kill, I'm manipulating things for Rico, because, like, why am I doing that? I just straight up have the units on hand to kill him. Why would I not do that? So it's a bit of a gray zone in terms of what's the best behavior. I like to target them both without screwing myself over, if I can do that without screwing myself over. Yeah, so here's Rabdag. Notice how he's absolutely massive, but because I've just got all those border expands as a quality in those faraway cities, I'm way ahead of him in score. He could kill Rico out right here. He could have even have taken a few cities off Calvi. Wouldn't have mattered. I still would have beaten him in score. So yeah, that's the game. This was a lot of fun to cast after the fact. I think I'm going to slow it down a little next time. I think 1.7 is too much. I think 1.5 would be perfect, because I wasn't able to talk about like some of the build details of what I was building and my worker moves that I like to normally talk about. Although maybe that stuff is boring, so let me know in the comments what you think. But yeah, I had a lot of fun, so I will see you guys next time.